dear. Will you please tell her I talked about her? Is she coming back?
Oh, I'm sure she will, yeah. She didn't have anything else.
Well, okay, Gretchen came up to me at Face to Face, and she was saying, you know, gee, I'd like to work with you, I'd like to do something, and together we were talking about something that Megan Meyer and I talked about, which is, you know, Megan joked about you should all register in the 8th District of Virginia, remember? And
your children couldn't vote.
and she said it again to me as we were walking out, and I said, but you know, we can't do that. Oh, you can't? And I explained why, okay? So we realized that what we ought to do, since we can't all register to vote in the 8th District in Virginia, was to really seriously collect the voting districts of everybody in FAWCO. 15,000 members we've got. They're not all American citizens, okay. But we're gonna do this. And Gretchen is gonna help with this. She's gonna take this on. And we'll work together with her, Mary Stewart, and so on. We'll do this. We're going to come to you and ask you to get the voting districts of everybody in your club. And then, you know, and then we'll be able to say, okay, out of 15,000 members, here's this big proportion of people who vote in these 14 districts. And that gives us a heck of a lot more power to go to those legislators and say, you gotta listen to us. And we also said, Gretchen, that we could take that one step farther, didn't we? That we would, you know, depending on who votes where and so on, we're going to be able to say to you, these 3 people need to hear from their legislators because these are key people who are going to get this bill passed or going to stop it from being passed. So I think this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And does everybody see, everybody knows who Gretchen is? And where she is? She's in Zurich. And she pointed out to me that she's not going to be president much longer, so she really needs something to do. Am I right? Okay, look, we're here to help. Here it is. I hope that this has helped, and we don't have as much time for questions as I hoped we would, but we've already had a lot of questions. But we do have time for questions now, so we're both here. What would you like to talk about?
Mary Stewart, would you tell them about what we did in our club? Because I think that would be really good about the taxing our group.
Oh, yeah, this is fun. Darlene very kindly sent one of her staff from the London office, and we actually had a public meeting for that actually got us some nice extra members, which is good benefit. But the best thing was that 3 of our club members said, well, why don't we form a tax subcommittee? And then we held some more public meetings with them distributing information and discussion. And we actually had a voting seminar, mostly to bring some of our members in from the cold, as one might say. Basically what we did over a course of about 3 hours was to go through the 1040 and identify what each section of it's actually for and the supporting documents that go with it. Because everyone's afraid of a form. Forms are frightening. I often think they're designed to be frightening. And it's not scary once you know how it's built. So when we get back from here, we're going to be talking to our tax subcommittee about what kind of events we would be holding this spring. Because lots of people still haven't come in from the cold, and a lot of people still need support. And Copenhagen is not getting a visit from the IRS London office, which we used to get some years ago. But state funds have been cut, State Department funds have been cut so badly that they don't do that, and the embassy can't offer any support at all. And all of this raises our club profile, which is great, and enables us to be helpful, which is even better.
And on top of that, we charged. Basically, you had a choice. You could pay 300 krona and attend the workshop, or pay 300 krona and become a member. Did anybody become members that night? Yes, they did. So on top of all of that, we also got members involved in that. So we can highly recommend, if you want to know how we organized ours, you can we're AWC Denmark, And we're gonna even be inviting Malmo because they're only a train ride away for the next one. So if you have a club that's closer. This was great work they did, these 3 people. I mean, tell you, they took, you know, we all came with our computers. Actually, if you go to Facebook, us, AWC, American Women's Club Denmark, you can click in and you can actually see some of the photos. You see people with their laptops up. We went onto the IRS site, we're looking at the forms, they're guiding us through, they're practically holding our hands. So it was really good. It was so worth it through the Corona, which I didn't have to pay because I'm a member of the president, but another story.
Yeah. Great.
Best practices.
Best practices.
Best practices.
Okay, I'll write it up.
Seriously, thank you. Great. Yes.
But just, I don't have a question, but a couple of anecdotes from the voting front. This year is the first year I can remember that Ohio sent me a computer tracking number.
Yes. Good. That was
And another thing that I found incredibly useful was a Facebook group. Ellen LaBelle was on Pennsylvanians Abroad. Yes. I was on Ohioans Abroad. And it was incredible. People were comparing notes about when they got their ballot, when they had requested, have you checked, has your ballot been, was it counted? And so it's, sort of real-time information. And it was great.
I tried, because of Ellen, I tried to find Connecticut Abroad, but
You should have just started it.
yeah.
And then the last thing is I'm very proud and happy that both my sons registered and voted this year for the first time.
Excellent.
And one of those 4 under 18s may have been Alexander.
On my way over to Monica, I'm going to give you a piece of news that I got that maybe if you haven't read the paper or seen the NBC Nightly News, you won't know. 236,000 jobs were added to the U.S. economy in the month of February. That's about 100,000 more than they were counting on, and unemployment is down to 7.7%.
It's a question to you, Lucy. At face to face, did you get anyone to volunteer to take on the citizenship chair? So I think we need to recruit someone. We need a citizenship chair.
Co-chair, because we do have Kathleen. I mean, Kathleen is,
Oh,
Is
speaking
there-
of that, we need a voting from overseas co-chair.
yeah.
So volunteer to see.
Okay, but you saw that we now do have 2 people who are taking on 2 whole new campaigns. And that's just great.
So maybe you like need a legislation, category. We need somebody to do something.
Aren't I always asking for volunteers?
Okay, other questions? We've got 5 or 10 minutes more. Any other questions, comments? Yes.
What's the climate in Washington otherwise these days? Just in general, come on, Lucy, give us some stories. Come on, please.
I can't give you any stories except that everybody there agrees with us that the climate is just so contentious and so partisan, so polarized, that it's really hard to imagine that anything, that's why I kind of roll my eyes when I talk about 597, What's most important is it appears to be getting the tax system reformed. But how are they going to get it reformed when they don't even agree, on what's broken and what needs to be fixed? And I honestly just don't know. However, hope, at least on the voting front, voting seems to be the only thing in recent years, in my experience, where we have really seen progress made. And I think we will continue to see progress made. Even though there are some people who say, that voter fraud, this, that, and the other thing. But I do know that in the House Administration Committee, which is responsible for voting in the House, they want to introduce some bills of their own. There have been bills introduced, again, for improving technology and this kind of thing. I don't have anything to do.
Vote. We got to break the logjam somehow. And that means citizens have to participate. We're all so proud of the turnout statistics in '08 and '12, and we're looking at what, 60%? 60% is a high. Turnout in Denmark is usually between 80 and 90%, and the government falls every year. You know, we only have to pay attention twice every 4 years, and the occasional special election.
2 years.
Twice every 4 years.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, okay. I missed that.
It was a late night
I missed
last
that
night.
word, yes.
The thing I would really say is that it's easy to get people's attention in presidential years. I really do. I could live a long life without a 2-year presidential campaign, and that's how it appears to go. What people forget about is the quote-unquote midterms, the congressional elections. A lot of state governments are moving their state elections to these off years. And that's often, I believe, for partisan reasons, one side or the other, because people tend to rely on just the base turning out in these midterms. And your congressman is busking for his or her job every 2 years. And the only way to keep him honest is to let him know that, you know, we are looking at their performance and we'll be letting them know through the ballot box. So we ought to be thinking now about turning people out in 14. It's a year off. I mean, after this Christmas, the day after next New Year's Day, I'll be signing up to vote.
With your orange juice.
Yeah. Orange juice helps with everything.
You know, when overseas Americans got the right to vote in 1975, it was because Washington was literally flooded by mail from overseas. A lot of us were doing that. We were sending postcards back. There was this wonderful campaign. And tea bags, yes. They do need to hear from you, and they need to hear from you often. And the more often they hear from you, the more often they hear from somebody saying, I'm your constituent and I live overseas and this is a problem for me, the more likely it is that they're going to remember the next time something comes up.
Who was it that wanted?
Right there. I did.
When Susan Aberdeen, you mentioned this morning still morning?
No.
State Department statistic of 6.32 million people overseas. Is that broken down roughly 50-50? Like
Women and
men? Yeah. Thank you.
I have no idea. In the United States, I mean, generally worldwide, is this not right that we're something like 52%?
It's generally, I just heard it on CNN this morning. It's worldwide, it's 50-50 men, women.
Really, 50-50?
Very roughly.
Okay.
Interesting.
I thought we were a little bit more than. But you just mentioned a word. Just a second. You just mentioned a word. The 6.32 million is private sector Americans abroad. It's not military. And it's not diplomatic corps.
Because they count the military, they don't count us. That's why they
I
say
just
State
think of
Department
voters
estimate.
abroad. When you say 6.32, it's actually 6.32 plus.
Plus all the rest.
Plus about
all
a
the rest.
million.
Yeah.
And those are including children.
Yes.
So maybe isn't that the 6.9 that UCLA came to?
No, it would be. That would be more.
Pretty much more.
That would be more.
I'm just thinking back to, was it Vero?
Yeah.
Who's now doing the,
Yes.
So if we talk to women's groups back in the States, what can we tell them about how many women are overseas?
Guess at about 3.
3 million?
And again, how many of our 15,000 members are American women?
That's a good point, because of course we do have regular members and associate members. And regular membership in a FAWCO club means that you have 60% American, a minimum of 60% American members in your club.
The profiles say it.
What?
Online, the profiles.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, and we can have 30%, associate members. So there are a lot of non-American members in FAWCO.
you're working
Yeah.
on voting district?
But yeah.
Okay. So that, you'll come up with.
Yes. And then I think probably this is going to be the last question.
Because back to best club practices, we took the initiative, Vesta Print, I mean, they're not a sponsor, but they should be, I spent a lot of money there. We actually made register to vote, go to FAWCO.org, quick, secure, nonpartisan American Women's Club. On the back, you will see our club motto on the back about what we do, American Women's Club of Denmark, how you can contact us. We printed up about, I think, 250 of these cards, which we made available at lots of events and passed out. So if you're out promoting something, I suggest, yes, it's so easy now, you can do it online. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Best club practice, really find yourself, this was online, so you don't even have to, I go online, they send it right to my house. That's no effort. I do it in the middle of the night. So I highly recommend this if you got in your club budget to do this and produce whatever you need. Yeah, I'd be glad to.
Did you want a link on best practice?
You want me to? I don't want to promote Vista Print because
I've got another best practice.
unless they're giving us some.
I've got another best practice. I think every club should identify and use the Mary Stuart Berger and the Clarice Scott that you all have in your clubs. Maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody else. But you two are sensational.
Okay. We're still here this afternoon, and this has been fun. I hope it's been helpful. We're always at the end of our computer keyboards. So please